Hey everybody, and welcome back to the 10,000 Heroes Show. I'm Ankur Shah, your host. And today my interview is with an old friend of mine, Brendon Tomasi. And Brendon is a tough guy to wrangle, so I'm doing my best to try and get him to give us some of the crystals of insight he's developed. But it's all about this project that we're doing together here, is getting insight on how to live a meaningful life and how to handle every moment, every conflict as an opportunity to continue to grow and transform and be the best self that we can be. So I got him talking about his transition into fatherhood, this fatherhood ritual he developed, and this blog post he wrote that has like all this great information. So if you know someone who's going through that process, send it to them. But even if you don't, like I said, the wisdom is generally applicable to transition and who's not in a transition moment. All right, Brendon, take it away. So in preparation for this interview, Brendon, I wrote something today, which is called Every Moment Has Its Message.
Mm.
And the idea is that everything we experience, even the shitty things or the things that seem shitty at the time, is an invitation to a deepening of understanding who we are, improving in our relationships, and eventually like living in pure harmony with the whole of creation, right? Of course, that's like the goal of all of it, naturally.
Right.
And so that to me is the context for this piece of wisdom you're about to drop on my many millions of committed listeners, which is about fatherhood and about this moment, this incredible moment of transition from, and I'm just going to summarize your life journey, which is like Act 1, star athlete; Act 2, party animal; Act 3, responsible father. And what you wrote, this document that I found so beautiful, is about this transition from Act 2 to Act 3.
Yeah. Yeah. So becoming a father is, the opportunity and a force upon us to be the person that we are destined to be. It is an impetus to mature and to grow as an individual. And it's, smack dab right in your face. It's a real instant karma kind of experience. And so to back up and to tell, that story, without much guidance, people are left to their own devices. And so when I realized that becoming a professional athlete wasn't an option, I took to partying and was pretty good at it, I guess.
Turns out being a professional partier was an option.
It wasn't. It was always an option, but it wasn't sustainable. And so through much work on myself and where I wanted to be, through the use of ayahuasca mainly, I was able to make this transition, and it was a very slow transition. First identifying the kind of people that I was spending my time with and the kinds of situations I was putting myself in and being pulled into. And as I said, it wasn't very sustainable. So the kinds of risks that I was taking was not something conducive to raising a child. So, and not that that was really in the forefront of my brain, it wasn't explicit at all. But, so meeting my wife and making these slow steps, she's a little bit older, so she was kind of pulling me along. And I was still disappearing on the weekends, just not really being even a responsible partner. So that was the first step, is to be a responsible partner. And that meant being where I said I was going to be, and calling when I say I'm going to call, being home when I say I'm going to be home, which is exactly what you need to be a good partner and to be a good father. For me, it was realizing that my wife's sense of security came from knowing where I was and me living by my word. And so that just really catalyzed the moment, or the trajectory towards becoming a father.
Great. And I'm going to show you what kind of person I am right now, how developed I become that I'm not even going to take the ayahuasca bait. I'm not even going to
Well,
ask you about that, even though
all
obviously
right.
that's all I want to do. And we're going to focus on the integrity. We're going to focus on integrity. And so, how did you? What? I'm going to just lead you into this because you wrote this amazing document that I want you to get into some of. But basically, there's a kind of a ritual that you
Yeah.
designed. And so, tell us about this ritual that helped you go through this little portal of integrity.
So the ritual is around opening yourself up to an experience that you haven't had before through a container, which is symbolically, but very literally, like a womb. How do you enter this world? Uh, you can only do that through an intermediary step that is kind of like the world, but also kind of like the world you came from. So that's a way of saying there's small steps that you have to take in
I
between.
thought I was asking you not about the ayahuasca, but you're like telling me about
It's all one, brother. It's all one.
it.
The best metaphors are literal. And so yeah, so finding ways to see the trajectory ahead, see what you want to embody, see what you want to have in your life, and you then feeling into that, feeling that I'm not ready for that. I'm not, and that's the beautiful thing about having a child is you have, 9, 10 months of time to do this, to lay this groundwork and to set the stage for the kind of world that they're going to come into, at least within your family. And so when you slow it down, you enter these small stages. And so that looks like, what would it be like if I came home when I said I was going to come home? And my wife's not mad at me. That's good. That's great. And so then I get the reward of fulfilling that obligation. And so then it expand upon that, and all these little steps create a general picture that is the transformation of the self. I'm sure that's super clear for everyone.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you just painted a crystal clear picture. So I'm going to talk a little bit about my version of that, because I think it might have been a little bit different than yours, and we can just offer them as two different rituals. And I'm going to try and be concrete with this. So
Mm-hmm.
one thing I did for myself and also for a couple other friends over the years is host a fatherhood ritual, which it's kind of like a baby shower, but like a
Yeah.
very masculine baby shower, and not a
Yeah.
not like masculine in the sense that you have to like have your shirt off and work out and have guns, but we would sit around a fire, and there was sometimes a small amount of heart opening medicine on the premises.
Mm-hmm.
But the basic idea is that you could be there in a group of people who had been through this before,
Mm-hmm.
and you could get empathy for your fears, you could get advice, but everyone just had a moment to share about what it meant for them. And I remember really, really clearly people telling me, you know what? It's going to suck. Like the first year is going to be miserable. And they were like, but do not resort to alcohol.
Mm.
And they're like, I tried that. I tried that. And it's effective, in some ways at the time.
Short
But
term,
yeah, short term. It does not lead to long-term benefit. Do not do that. It is not your friend.
because your kids aren't going to sleep in because you have a hangover.
Yeah. Yeah. And it was a really effective, powerful advice. And it's not theoretical advice. It's advice from somebody who had walked this path and would not walk it again.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a real space. We just did this one night around a fire, but it really I felt like I left that evening a a different person and really ready for this project. And it was like, as you're saying, it was the culmination of many months of preparation.
Yeah,
Wa-
yeah,
Was
yeah.
your version like that, or was it different?
It was slightly different. I kind of went on tour and visited some friends, a couple hours away, or even that were somewhat local, half hour away, and had intentional gatherings where we would talk about it. And so you had folks or friends that were already parents, and I mixed it up. I wanted the advice, and I think it's really important to notice that you don't have to take or leave advice. You shouldn't accept or deny or reject any advice at face value. You try it on, you see how it fits, and that to me is the ritual, is putting it on, seeing how it fits, and if it feels good, and if you can see that it's leading you towards your trajectory, then that's something that you can keep. It's a tool in a tool belt. So part of this, there was a lot of fires involved. There's a lot of deep conversation about our fears and what what is it like to bring a child into this world? I mean, this is a wild time, and a lot of people would say that oh, I'm not going to bring a child into this world,
Oh yeah,
and I haven't heard, but how could you bring a child into this world? I'm sure it was going on in some people's minds. So
for sure.
but people survived the Black Plague because they still, maybe they're just getting it on, but somebody saw faith, and somebody had faith, somebody saw hope in humanity, and that having a child was something worth doing. And where would we be without our friends, to support and guide us along our journey?
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Yeah. So you had this on tour, decentralized version of it.
That's right.
Yeah, where you were slowly like picking up these techniques. And is that in the document you wrote, the post, does it have 20 tips or?
It was 20, but the format of Medium forced me to make it 24. It didn't like my indentations, and so it is.
Okay.
So it's
Yeah.
simultaneously 20 and 24.
Yeah,
Yeah,
perfect. And it's a very Brendon way of it being. And like these like parallel universes of 20 and 24. And I'm sure there's one
that's
where it's
right.
also 32. So, and 432 even. So did those insights come from this tour, or did they come afterwards or before, or
The
what's the
the article
connection?
came as a culmination of these experiences leading up to parenthood, what were a lot of what I was going through. I think I start by saying, our culture doesn't do a great job at cultivating males to be good partners in in pregnancy, labor, and fatherhood. And you can picture the father smoking a cigar in the lounge or the lobby of the hospital back in our parents' generation. And we've come a long way. I mean, I delivered my child, or the second one anyway, Veda, because I wanted to have that experience. I knew that I could never, there was no competition, but I wanted the sense of closeness that my wife had with these children.
Yeah.
And she went into prodromal labor with Kai, so I wasn't able to deliver our firstborn. But the second one, yeah, it was at home and with a midwife, and we had a midwife for the first one as well. But yeah, I wanted to be there. I wanted to be as close to the experience. We dehydrated the placenta and ate that. That was all part of this ritual to become close and to have, at least sympathetically, the kind of relationship that the woman has in pregnancy and in birth.
Wow. Wow. Amazing. Okay.
And as a
So
vegetarian eating placenta, so something, there was no death involved.
yeah, that's interesting. It's
Yeah.
like it's vegetarian meat.
The Roadkill Cafe is open for business. If I'm against the gratuitous harm to animals, not the consumption of their flesh so much.
Okay, so you would eat roadkill.
No, it's open for business. I'm not saying I would go shop there.
Oh, you're a slippery dude. You're a slippery dude.
uh,
All right. Okay. So give us one more juicy highlight, and then I'm actually going to put on the audio of you and video of you in costume reading this document because I think people are
gotcha.
going to love that. And the
Yeah.
costume better be good But give us another little highlight of just like, boom, blow someone's mind.
There's nothing you can do to prepare you for fatherhood or parenthood. Um, but treating it with an openness. And so that was a big part for me was I couldn't, it was a known unknown. You don't know if your child's going to be healthy, if they're going to be sick, if they're going to be born with their organs on the outside. I mean, all the full spectrum of possibilities exists. And to play out any one of those scenarios is going to collapse the possibility of any of the other ones. But yet the reality is going to remain the objective reality. And so leading up into the labor and fatherhood, I was focusing a lot of my energy on lubricating my emotional vessel. So just whenever I would feel a little bit of agitation, I would just play with that. I'd say, what does it look like 10x? What does it look like 20x? Because I know how frustrating it can be to, even before having kids, how frustrating it could be to have children. And I did underestimate how frustrating it can be to be a parent. But the exercise of feeling into these situations and joy too. I mean, it's total full spectrum peak experiences. And so by just feeling into those moments and trying on those different feelings of heightened sensory awareness, we can, like exercise, like a physical exercise, become more agile in those moments. And so, yeah, so when your kid is playing defense to you, trying to tie your shoe and like spilling over the Lincoln Logs or whatever, your Legos that you just picked up, and it's like there is nothing that can prepare you for that level of conflict. I mean, it especially because it's this tender little thing, this little child that you love, and yet it's like it is a punishment unlike no other. Yeah.
You especially you're so connected. And you ate that vegetarian placenta.
Yeah, placenta smoothies all around.
Oh man. God. Well, Brendon, and no matter what you were to say on the show, I could say this. Thank you for taking us there.
Oh, thanks for having me, bud.
It's
I love
always
you,
a trip.
man.
It's always a
Yeah.
trip. Yeah, I love you too. So we're new to YouTube and we would love your feedback. Please comment, subscribe, follow, tell all your friends, and let us know what you think. Thanks. And remember, the only way out is through.